A and B are 2 points on the graph of y equals x plus 5. Write the missing coordinates of A and B. So we know that with coordinates, the first coordinate is the x coordinate and the second the y coordinate. So for point A, because we have a y coordinate of 9, we have 9 equals x plus 5. And 4 plus 5 is 9, so because the y coordinate is 9, the x coordinate must be 4. Now for point B, we know that the x coordinate is minus 8. So to find the y coordinate, we have minus 8 plus 5, so that's minus 3. Now write the coordinates of the point where the graph of y equals x plus 5 crosses the x-axis. So remember, the x-axis is this line here, and the line crosses it at this point here. So because it's on the x-axis, the y-coordinate will be 0, and if y is 0, 0 equals what plus 5? Well, 0 equals minus 5 plus 5, so the x-coordinate of this point here is minus 5. Two telephone companies, Supertalk and Quickline, have different charges for long-distance calls. This graph shows the charges for different lengths of calls. Estimate from the graph how many seconds longer a £2 call lasts with Supertalk compared to Quickline. So we have the cost of call in pence on this side, and £2 is 200 pence. So we can draw a line across from 200 pence, and then if we see where that meets the line for Quickline, we can draw a line down and see that it's between 100 and 200 seconds. So I would estimate perhaps 140, because it's slightly closer to 100 than it is to 200. And then if we look at where the line meets the Supertalk line on our line graph, that's at 400 seconds. Now we want to know how many seconds longer, so we need to find the difference. So to subtract 140 from 400, and that gives us an answer 260 seconds. Now estimate from the graph the length of a call when Quickline becomes cheaper to use than Supertalk. Give your answer to the nearest 10 seconds. So we can see that Quickline is more expensive up until this point here, because from this point onwards, Supertalk becomes more expensive. So this point here is about 470 seconds, because though it's between 400 and 500 seconds, it's slightly closer to 500 than it is to 400. So I would estimate 470 seconds. Here are some picture frame sizes. For each frame, the length is twice the height, subtract 4. What is the length of a frame which has a height of 36 centimeters? So we need twice 36, or 36 times 2, minus 4. 36 times 2 is 72, minus 4 is 68. So the length is 68 centimeters. Now for each frame, the length, L, is twice the height, H, subtract 4. Write this in symbols. So we can write L equals 2H minus 4. Because twice something, we can write a 2 in front of that letter to show 2 times, and then we need to subtract 4. ABCD is a rectangle drawn on a coordinate axis. The sides of the rectangle are parallel to the axes. What are the coordinates of D and E? So remember, with coordinates, we write the x coordinate first and then the y coordinate. And we can see that point D is in line with point A, which has an x-coordinate of -10. So that means the x-coordinate for point D is -10 as well. Then for the y-coordinate, we can see that point D is in line with point C, and that has a y-coordinate, a second number, of -4. So the y-coordinate of D will be -4 as well. So now let's look at point E. That's on the y-axis, so it will have an x-coordinate of 0. And then to find the y-coordinate, we can see that point E is in line with point A, and because that has a y-coordinate of 8, the y-coordinate for point E will be 8 as well. Write the missing numbers. 8 million is 1,000 more than which number? So this number here will be 1,000 less than 8 million. So we need to work out 8 million minus 1,000. That's 7,999,000. And we can work that out mentally if we know that 8,000 minus 1 is 7,999, then we know that 8 million minus 1,000 is 7,999,000, because we don't have any hundreds, tens or ones, and we're not subtracting any, so we have 0 as our hundreds, tens and ones digits. Now, which number is 10,000 less than 8 million? So this number will be 10,000 less, so we need to subtract 10,000 from 8 million. That's 7,990,000. And again, we can do that mentally if we know that 800 minus 1 is 799, and then we have zeros in our thousands, hundreds, tens and ones, and we're not subtracting any thousands, hundreds, tens or ones, so that's why we have 4 zeros as the last digits of our answer. Here is a number line. Draw an arrow to show the position of 13 over 32. So on our number line we have eighths, but we can find an equivalent fraction for a fraction with a denominator of 8 that has a denominator of 32, because 8 times 4 is 32, and if we do the same to the numerator, 1 times 4 is 4, so 1/8 is the same as 4 over 32. And we can find an equivalent fraction for 2/8 as well. 2/8 is equivalent to 8 over 32, because 2 times 4 is 8, so we can mark that on our number line as well. And 3/8 is equivalent to 12 over 32, so we can mark that point as well. Now we want 13 over 32, and we can see that our numerator is going up by 4 each time, and that means that each of these little lines is 1 over 32. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, which means that 13 over 32 will be this point here. The diagram shows part of a number line. 2 of the fractions are not complete. Write the missing numerator in each box. So let's find this missing numerator here. To do that, we need to work out 3 and 1/10 minus 1/2. 3 and 1/10 is the same as 31/10. 3 times 10 is 30, plus 1 is 31, and the denominator stays the same. Now we need to subtract 1/2, but to subtract fractions, the denominators need to be the same. So 1/2 is the same as 5/10, and if we work out 31/10 minus 5/10, that gives us 26/10. So 26/10, if we turn that back into a mixed number, is the same as 2 and 6/10, because 26 divided by 10 is 2 remainder 6, and the denominator stays the same. But here the denominator is 5, so we need to find an equivalent fraction for 6/10 with a denominator of 5. Now 2 and 6/10 is equal or the same as 2 and 3/5 because we can simplify 6/10 by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, 10 divided by 2 is 5. So because our answer is 2 and 3/5, we know that this missing numerator must be a 3. Now we have 3 and 1/10 plus 3/4. So 3 and 1/10 is 31/10, and we're adding 3/4. But again, to add fractions, we need the denominators to be the same. Now 10 isn't in the 4 times table, but 20 is a common multiple of 10 and 4, so we can find equivalent fractions for both of these which have a denominator of 20. 10 times 2 is 20, 31 times 2 is 62, and 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 5 is 15, so that gives us 77/20 as our answer. Now we can turn that back into a mixed number because 77 divided by 20 is 3 remainder 17, or 3 times 20 is 60 plus 17 is 77. So our answer is 3 and 17/20, so our missing numerator is the number 17. The two cuboids have the same volume. Calculate the length x. So the volume is the amount of space that a 3D shape takes up. So we can calculate the volume of this cuboid here because they've given us the length, breadth and height. So we can multiply 10, 6 and 5. 10 times 6 is 60, times 5 is 300. So the volume of the cuboids are both 300 centimeters cubed because they have the same volume. So now 12 times x will need to give a volume of 300 centimeters cubed as well. So to find out what these missing numbers could be, let's divide 300 by 12 because if we have a missing number multiplication, we can use division. 300 divided by 12 is 25. So 12 times 25 is 300. So these numbers here must have a product of 25. And because the length x is the same for both, they need to be the same number. Now 5 times 5 is 25. So 12 times 5 is 60, times 5 is 300. And that means the length x is 5 centimeters.